A monster calls. No tail.
Can you heal her?
Connor asked.
The yew is a healing tree,
The monster said.
It is the form I choose most to walk in.
Connor frowned.
That's not really an answer.
The monster just gave him that evil grin. Connor's grandma had driven him back to her house when his mum had fallen asleep after not eating her dinner. His grandma still hadn't spoken to him about the destruction of her sitting room. She'd barely spoken to him at all.
I'm going back,
she said, as he got out of the car.
Fix yourself something to eat. I know you can at least do that. Do you think Dad's at the airport by now?
Connor asked. All his grandma did in response was sigh impatiently. He shut the door, and she drove away. After he'd gone inside, the clock, the cheap battery-operated one in the kitchen, which was all they had now, had crept towards midnight, without her returning or calling. He thought about calling her himself, but she'd already yelled at him once when her ringtone had woken up his mum. It didn't matter. In fact, it made it easier. He hadn't had to pretend to go to bed. He'd waited until the clock read 12:07. Then he went outside and said,
Where are you?
And the monster said,
I am here,
and stepped over his grandma's office shed in one easy motion.
Can you heal her?
Connor asked again more firmly. The monster looked down at him.
It is not up to me.
Why not?
Connor asked.
You tear down houses and rescue witches. You say every bit of you can heal if only people would use it.
If your mother can be healed,
the monster said,
then the yew tree will do it.
Connor crossed his arms.
Is that a yes?
Then the monster did something it hadn't done until now. It sat down. It placed its entire great weight on top of his grandma's office. Connor could hear the wood groan and saw the roof sag. His heart leapt in his throat. If he destroyed her office too, there's no telling what she'd do to him. Probably ship him off to prison or worse, boarding school.
You still do not know why you called me, do you?
The monster asked.
You still do not know why I have come walking. It is not as if I do this every day, Connor O'Malley.
I didn't call you, Connor said. Unless it was in a dream or something, and even if I did, it was obviously for my mum.
Was it?
Well, why else? Connor said, his voice rising. It wasn't just to hear terrible stories that made no sense.
Are you forgetting your grandmother's sitting room?
Connor couldn't quite suppress a small smile.
As I thought,
said the monster.
I'm being serious, Connor said.
So am I, but we are not yet ready for the third and final story. That will be soon, and after that, you will tell me your story, Connor O'Malley. You will tell me your truth.
The monster leaned forward.
And you know of what I speak.
The mist surrounded them again suddenly, and his grandma's garden faded away. The world changed to grey and emptiness, and Connor knew exactly where he was, exactly what the world had changed into. He was inside the nightmare. This is what it felt like. This is what it looked like. The edges of the world crumbling away, and Connor holding onto her hands, feeling them slip from his grasp, feeling her fall. "No!" he cried out. "No! Not this!" The mist retreated, and he was back in his grandma's garden again, the monster still sitting on her office roof.
"That's not my truth," Connor said, his voice shaking. "That's just a nightmare."
Nevertheless,
the monster said, standing, the roof beams of his grandma's office seeming to sigh with relief.
That is what will happen after the third tale.
"Great,"
Connor said.
"Another story where there are more important things going on."
Stories are important, the monster said. They can be more important than anything, if they carry the truth.
"Life writing,"
Connor said sourly under his breath. The monster looked surprised.
Indeed,
it said. It turned to go, but glanced back at Connor.
look for me soon.
I want to know what's going to happen with my mum,
Connor said. The monster paused.
Do you not know already?
You said you were a tree of healing.
Connor said.
Well, I need you to heal.
And so I shall,
the monster said, and with a gust of wind, it was gone.